In today's video, we're going to be talking about burnout. I'm going to be going over some tips for people that are feeling burnt out and how to avoid this, and some personal experiences that I've had with overcoming it or going through it. Every aspect in life is counterbalanced by another thing. Work life and professional success requires a tremendous amount of attention, but personal life will suffer unless you counterbalance it with another important activity that has nothing to do with your work and everything to do with your personal life. If you attend to all things at once, then every aspect of your life will suffer and nothing will fully flourish. And things become extraordinary when you go through the extremes to get there sometimes. And sometimes it's the only way to achieve greatness or your goals in life. But if you stay in that extreme for too long, other aspects of your life will start to crumble, such as personal life, relationships, and never being able to get back time. This is very true for burnout because a lot of people go so far in one direction that they don't balance it out. And I'm very guilty of this too in many aspects of my life. There's this quote from this book that I read, and it says, "When you gamble with time, you may be placing a bet you can't cover. Even if you're sure you can win, be careful that you can live with what you lose." So my interpretation of this is, if you gamble your time away with becoming successful, you have to be okay with losing other things in other aspects of your life when doing what it takes to accomplish those goals. Because I think you really do have to focus on one thing at a time and what's most important. So when experiencing burnout, you're really focused on one thing for too long of a period of time, and you have to balance it out with something that fulfills another aspect of your life. So for me, I mainly edit videos all day long, and this can get extremely exhausting, especially if I'm creating something similar each and every single day. And if it's almost the same exact video for different people, then it gets extremely repetitive, and that doesn't help with burnout at all. But at the same time, I feel bad about taking breaks if I don't feel motivated or I don't feel like doing it today, because I'm like, well, I'm getting paid to do this. I have to do this. I know it's through like a client and I'm my own boss, but at the same time, I feel bad about doing anything else in my current life that doesn't have to do with this specific video until I get it done, because I know that they're waiting for this video to be done, but it's coming at the expense of my own thoughts, feelings, and well-being, basically. And I'm sure this is a pretty common thing for most people for work, especially people that are in the creative industry. It's very creatively draining. Like, you're trying to produce a piece of art to be interpreted or enjoyed by others, and at the same time, it comes at the expense of a monetary gain. So this puts pressure on your art, and sometimes it feels like you're not in it for the love of the game anymore, even though that's your true intent behind it. But money talks, and you have to do what it takes to sustain your own life and be able to live. And this is where it really gets complicated, and you're almost forced to push past your mental barriers, which isn't always a good thing in my opinion, because truly sometimes you have to take back in order to recharge your creative mindset. And if you don't allow yourself, it almost puts up a block and a barrier between you and your work, and almost makes you less efficient in your work because you have nothing left to give, but you're trying to still give to your work. And the best piece of advice that I would give for this, for me, has been to allow yourself to step back and take those breaks, do the things that make you happy, do things that aren't going to make you money exactly, and be okay knowing that you're going to be recharging yourself to tackle that project even better. And I know some people can't do this because they work a 9 to 5. So don't get me wrong, I'm blessed and I'm so grateful to be able to be my own boss. And I really sympathize with people that have a 9 to 5 that are burnt out, because you have no other option than to clock in and out every single day. And I was there at one point, and I feel for that. And I think that the advice for that might look a little different than somebody that works for themselves or is in a creative industry. So for people that aren't in a creative industry and just working a 9 to 5, what I'd say is just be mindful, be grateful, and just try to shift your mindset almost. I know it's going to suck. Like, it does suck, don't get me wrong. If you don't enjoy your job, that is the biggest thing that drains you. So, if you're feeling burnt out, I'm not saying you should quit your job. Maybe find something more fulfilling. That's always an option. And I know change is scary sometimes, but sometimes in order to gain a better life, you have to let go of your past life. And that can be really hard because maybe you're comfortable, but to me, being comfortable in life and being okay with where you're at, that's kind of the limiting factor of you growing as a person if you sit in your comfort zone your whole entire life. So sometimes change just needs to happen. Maybe you go to work, but at the end of the day, don't just sit there and try to relax and regain your energy, and try to focus on what makes you happy. And I know that's almost counterintuitive to what I just said of taking time, taking a break, and just doing things for yourself. But sometimes it's necessary to force yourself to do things that you enjoy, even though the thought of it is so daunting in your head and all you want to do is sit on the couch and recharge for the next work day. Because I've been there, and that's a dangerous cycle to get into, because that creates comfortability. But like I just said, nothing changes unless change itself happens. And so for people in the creative field, such as myself, at the end of the day, there's always going to be things that are unfinished. But as long as you focus on what matters most in that day, that's what counts. And sometimes you have to focus all of your energy on recuperating your energy itself, and whatever that may be. It looks different for everybody. For me, sometimes it's reading, sometimes it's I've tried to get into some meditation lately, just to try to feel more grounded and not stressed and always in my head of thinking, what's the next thing I have to do here? How can I get this done? What's the best way of achieving this? Because I truly just need to shut my brain off sometimes and be one with myself. As weird as that sounds, I know it kind of sounds a little cheesy, but everything really needs to be done in moderation, or not so much moderation, but balance. And there's no true way of finding the perfect balance, because you're always going to have to give all of your energy to one thing and then shift it to a different thing. But I'd say finding a balance between shifting your energy or what you're focusing on can in turn help you feel less burnt out. Because the reason why you're feeling burnt out is because you're running low on energy and you can't find the energy to do that thing. So you need to find other aspects that can replenish that source so you can further sustain long-term goals. And this can be said for a lot of different things. It could be relationships, personal life, anything, personal goals, hobbies, anything. It goes for a lot of different aspects that you can't just focus on one thing forever. You have to give in one part to grow in another. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one.